Simon Dyer will be giving this talk, so please welcome him to the stage. Thank you.
Right, hi. So my name's Simon Dyer, and I'm the founder of Plutus Crypto Consulting. And we work with independent financial advisors, estate planners, and financial professionals, really to educate them about what crypto and NFTs are. So before we get into the talk, could I just have a quick show of hands as to who took public transport? So a bus, a taxi, an Uber. Who took public transport this morning? Lovely. Great British public transport. Well, today's talk is about something that no one really wants to think about, and hopefully won't be something that those close to you have to think about. So, remember a moment ago I just said about public transport? I want another show of hands, please, for put your hand up if you've got a really solid plan for your NFTs and your cryptocurrencies, if the bus or taxi that you took here this morning was actually to hit you when you left the conference later. So, quick show of hands. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, you guys can go, because you don't need to listen to me for the next 10 minutes. But in seriousness, what that shows is that not everyone does have a plan. And that's quite concerning. And I want you to stop just for 20 seconds and just count up the rough value of all of the NFTs that you've accumulated over the last few years. And include the crypto assets that you hold in your wallet as well to buy and sell these and any other crypto that you hold. So just spend a moment just thinking about what the value of that is. Don't forget as well that NFTs don't just account for art. So you might have an ENS domain or an unstoppable domain. You might have some Step and Trainers as NFTs. You might have the Kings of Leon album that was minted as an NFT. So there's all sorts of things that you might hold in your NFT portfolio. And also, I want you to think about other assets you hold, whether they're digital or not. So that would be things like if you own a property, if you're one of those lucky people that can afford one these days. Any other assets that you hold, artwork, could be anything. So just consider that as well and keep that in mind. So we said about it being an issue, but how much of an issue is it? Well, clearly if you're the person dying, it's a pretty big issue. But you don't want it to be an even bigger issue to your loved ones, because they're the ones who will have to sort it out on top of grieving your loss. So I've got some statistics here, and this is from a 2020 study by the Cremation Institute of America. And the first one is 89% of crypto and NFT holders worry about dying with their assets. Despite this, only 77% haven't actually done anything about it. 23% have actually considered it and put some sort of plan in place. Whether or not it's robust, they have actually considered it. So who do you think the worst offenders are for not doing anything? Age range. The worst offenders are actually the 18 to 40 age range, so Gen Zs and millennials. And unfortunately, they're also the majority of NFT and crypto holders. And the other thing is they're actually 10 times less likely to put some sort of plan or will or trust in place. And also, I'm half as likely as my girlfriend is to put something in place to actually hand over my assets to someone if I was to die. And clearly what that shows is women are better at taking precautions than men, but nothing new there. So, what I have here is a tweet from Punk9069, and this just shows that potentially, even Bored Apes, there are a number of Bored Apes that will be completely missing and never be in circulation again because the person that owned them hasn't actually taken precautions. So what do you need to think about? Well, there are a couple of things. Probably the most important one is, do you know? So when I asked you earlier to tot up everything in your head, do you actually know what you hold? And if you think about having accumulated it over years, if you're anything like me, you're a bit of a nifty magpie, so you'll have collected all sorts of NFTs on all sorts of different blockchains. And that then leads to the question, so if you do know, brilliant, do any of your family members, does your partner, does anyone else know? Because crypto estate planning is all about the balance of keeping your assets secure, but also accessible at the same time. And unfortunately, there are so many cases where someone owns an NFT, nobody else knows about it or can find it. And even more so now you've got so many different chains that these NFTs can be on. You might have Solana NFTs, you might have Polygon NFTs. I've actually got a Genesis NFT of the Kusama Canary on the Canary network. And that can only be accessed with a Polkadot.js wallet using a Chrome extension. Now, if I try to explain that to my granny, that's not going to happen. You might also have NFTs staked and earning yield. So there's all sorts of different things you can do with them these days as well. So let's assume that they know you've got NFTs. There are a couple of other things to consider. And the first one being, do they know what you actually hold and what the value of it is? And I'd say possibly not, because of how much being in the crypto space, privacy and security is drummed into us. Would they know where it's held? So is it on a hardware or software wallet? Is it on an exchange? Is it in a custody platform? Would they know how to access it? And have you been clear on who you'd want to be the beneficiaries of your collection? So is it a spouse, a charity? Who would you actually want that to be left to? And is that something you've considered? And how? So how will anyone know who you want to benefit? So who'll know who the beneficiaries are going to be for what you actually hold? Have you got a will? Have you got a trust? Have you actually got any legal document drawn up to say where that's to go? So all of these are important. And the other thing to consider, and it's been mentioned a few times throughout the day, but your NFTs, firstly, they might not go to the person you'd expect them to go to, depending on numerous factors. But also, you might actually land the person that receives them with a very large inheritance tax bill, especially if the collection you've got or the NFTs and crypto you've accumulated have gone up in value substantially. And that's another thing to really consider. There we go. So really good infographic here. So this is from Lily Lasker's Twitter feed, if you wanted to take a look at it. But the big thing it does show is that there's so much more to NFTs than just art, and this is going to become increasingly important as the space evolves. Wills. One thing you do need to consider is wills are public domain, so whatever you do, do not put your seed phrases, your private keys or anything like that in your will, because anyone can look at that and then all of a sudden your wallet's drained. Gifting. So gifting, unless you're gifting, certainly in the UK, to a spouse or civil partner, you may be due to pay capital gains tax. So if you do gift to someone, that's another consideration you've got. And storage of your private keys. So again, have you got your private keys stored securely? And if you have it in cold storage, is it in a fireproof lockbox? Have you got it in multiple locations? Have you got it spread amongst different people? We've talked about various different security aspects and how complicated it is in a couple of talks a bit earlier. It's not an easy thing to do. And if you're someone that knows nothing about crypto and you're needing to sort this out, it makes it even worse. So it is something that's worth spending the time to consider. The biggest thing also to remember is you don't want this stuff stored on the internet, because you're just opening yourself up to theft. The other thing to consider is that I think CoinCover did a survey, and there are around 4 million Bitcoin that are actually lost because of various things, and a lot of that will also be due to people not making proper plans if they were to die. So to summarise, first thing is don't bury your head in the sand. This could happen today when you leave here, or you could live to 100. But do you want to take the risk? So a couple of do's. First thing, make a list. We love making lists, so sit down, think about exactly what you have and make a list of all of it, which wallet it's in, which exchange it's on, which blockchain it's on and what it's worth. Have a clear plan, so who you'd want to have your assets in the event of your death, and write down your wishes. Don't assume that people know what they're inheriting or what to do with it. So you need to be able to explain this to a 5-year-old, and again, would they know the value of what they're inheriting? And don't assume that people have any knowledge. So once you've done the above, protect it, but also speak to a professional. And there are a lot of professionals that have come today, a lot of professionals I work with, but actually do something and document it in a legal document professionally. And the final thing, and the most important thing, don't leave it to chance. Now, I have done a couple of documents that might help, so if you did want to scan the QR code, that will link you to my website, and drop me a line, and I'll pass the documents on to you. But other than that, I'm at time, so thank you very much.